He didn't walk into a team. He walked into a shadow. Willie Morgan, the man they asked to follow a myth and never flinch. The shirt still smelled of George Best. The crowd still expected magic, but the era of miracles had ended. What came next wasn't glamour, it was wreckage, and Morgan, he played through it all. He didn't copy the ghost, he didn't chase the cheers, he just kept the line alive when the rest of the club lost its shape. While the lights dimmed, he stayed lit. While legends disappeared, he remained. He played like belief itself was under threat, and he did it with nothing but a touchline, a quiet fire, and a pride that didn't ask to be praised. Because some men arrive when the story's over, and still manage to write something unforgettable. Willie Morgan, the name they buried behind a myth, but the flame that never went out. Subscribe if you believe real legends don't shine, they endure. William Alex Morgan was born on October 2nd, 1944, in the windswept town of Troon, on the coast of South Ayrshire, Scotland. There were no scouts waiting at the station, no interviews, no headlines. Just a boy with the kind of hunger you don't inherit, you survive. He learned the game where space was a luxury and toughness was the price of play. Concrete, grit, cold air, that was his training ground. He didn't come through a polished academy system. He came through afternoons spent dodging tackles on battered pitches, the kind where only one thing mattered: don't stop moving. And he didn't. From those raw beginnings, the game grew into him, not as a dream, but as a direction. Out wide, always wide, where he could see everything coming and decide what to leave behind. It was Burnley who saw it, not just speed, but timing, not just skill, but clarity, that quiet precision that couldn't be taught. He didn't arrive at Burnley with a name. He left with a position that felt made for him. Right wing, not just where he played, where he belonged. William Morgan. Built by the coast, refined by fire, and carried forward by a rhythm only he understood. He joined Burnley in 1960 as a teenager, quiet, quick, and unknown. By the time John Connolly left for Manchester United, Willie Morgan had already taken the shirt and made it impossible to take back. No headlines, no ego, just presence. He made the right wing his own with timing, touch, and the kind of sharpness you don't coach, you inherit. He made his first division debut in 1963 and never looked back. Over the next 5 years, he played with the same precision every week, feet close to the line, mind 2 passes ahead. Between 1960 and 1968, he made 231 league appearances for Burnley, scoring 22 goals and creating far more than the record books ever tracked. The defining moment came on Boxing Day, 1963. Burnley versus Manchester United. The Giants from Old Trafford walked in expecting a match. They left dismantled. Burnley won 6-1. Willie Morgan scored twice. No celebration, no arms raised, just a jog back to his position like it was what he came to do. Because it was. In an era where wingers were judged on flash, he gave Burnley something better: consistency. He didn't go down easily, he didn't drift. He stayed wide, stayed ready, and did the job until defenders stopped trying to guess and just hoped to survive. For 8 seasons, he was Burnley's edge, the quiet weapon, the spark before the finish. And in 1968, the same club he'd embarrassed on a winter afternoon, Manchester United, came calling. Willie didn't ask questions. He just packed his boots and followed the call. He wasn't a headline signing. He wasn't George Best. But he was exactly what they needed: a right winger with clarity, control, and the strength to carry weight without complaining. He didn't inherit a dream. He inherited a team already beginning to break. The Busby era was ending. The legends were fading, and the crowd, still high from the European Cup, had no idea how far things were about to fall. But while others drifted, Morgan stood still, feet on the chalk, eyes forward, cross after cross after cross. Over the next 7 seasons, he would become United's most reliable presence in wide areas. Between 1968 and 1975, he made 236 league appearances, scored 25 league goals, and played 296 matches in all competitions, adding 34 goals across League, Cup, and Europe. While the club fell into chaos, new managers, poor results, egos clashing, legends leaving, Morgan remained. In 1972, A fan tribute single titled Willie Morgan was released by the band Tristar Airbus. He played through decline. He played through relegation. And when United dropped into the second division in 1974, he didn't disappear. He stayed, fought, and helped drag them straight back up in 1975. One of the few who held the line when the club had almost forgotten what that meant. But time moves quickly at Old Trafford, and when Steve Coppell arrived, younger, faster, fresher, Willie Morgan knew what came next. No drama, no farewell tour, just boots packed, head held high, and a quiet exit from the club he never stopped giving to. He didn't leave as a hero, but real fans, the ones who watched him every week, knew what they'd lost. Because while others chased glory, Willie Morgan held the shirt steady while everything around it collapsed. He didn't talk about playing for Scotland, he just earned it. Willie Morgan made his international debut in 1967, away to Northern Ireland, a cold pitch, heavy tackles, and nothing romantic. Just a cap, a badge, and the silence of knowing you belong. By then, he wasn't just a winger, he was a worker. The kind of player international teams need when flair alone won't survive. Over time, they listed him with 21 caps and 1 goal. But the numbers were wrong. They forgot the tour matches, the ones that didn't count because they weren't convenient to count. In 2021, that was corrected. The Scottish FA reclassified those forgotten games. Willie Morgan was now officially credited with 26 caps and 4 goals. And every one of them was earned the way he played his whole life, out wide, under pressure, against the odds. In 1973, he played the ball that mattered. A low cross, tight angle, perfect weight, right onto the head of Joe Jordan. That goal sent Scotland to the 1974 World Cup in West Germany, their first appearance in 16 years. A nation had waited, and Willie Morgan had helped deliver it. In that World Cup, Scotland never lost a match. They beat Zaire, held Brazil, stood toe-to-toe with Yugoslavia. They were eliminated on goal difference, but not in spirit. Morgan stood firm in those colors, not as a star, but as a servant of the shirt. When asked what it meant, he didn't offer poetry. He just said, "They are unbelievable fans who back the team no matter what." He played his last game for Scotland in 1974. No fuss, no farewell. Just as it began, boots laced, head down, ready to play if they ever needed him again. When his time at Manchester United ended in 1975, there was no announcement, no farewell montage, just a quiet shift, like he always knew the game wasn't built to thank you back. He returned briefly to Burnley, the club that first trusted him. But the rhythm had changed. Only 16 appearances, 1 goal, enough to close the loop, not reopen it. Then came Bolton Wanderers, where football was still real. Tough grounds, hard tackles, crowds that didn't ask for miracles, just effort. Between 1976 and 1980, Willie Morgan gave them everything. He made 154 league appearances, scored 10 goals, and helped Bolton climb back into England's top flight, winning the second division title in 1977-78. It wasn't glamorous, it was honest, exactly the way he liked it. And while others wound down their careers quietly, Morgan kept running. In the summers, he crossed the Atlantic, first to the Chicago Sting in 1977, then to the Minnesota Kicks from 1978 to 1980. NASL football was growing, pulling in legends and wanderers, and Morgan fit both roles. He made 20 appearances for Chicago, 65 for Minnesota, and gave American fans a glimpse of something rare, a winger who played with discipline, even when no one expected him to. He scored 3 goals for Chicago Sting and 4 for Minnesota Kicks during his NASL career. He came back to England one last time, joining Blackpool in 1980. One more season, 41 appearances, 1 goal, no spotlight, no send-off. Just a man finishing the job the way he'd always done it, quietly, completely, and without shortcuts. He played for Manchester United when it hurt to. He wore Scotland's shirt when it meant something. He burned through 3 decades of football, and yet they rarely say his name. Willie Morgan never won the FA Cup. He didn't lift European trophies. There are no murals, no tributes in stone. But he left something harder to carve: memory. Ask the ones who watched him, the defenders who chased him, the teammates who trusted him. And they'll tell you, he never disappeared. When others hid behind reputation, he stayed wide, delivered, and kept playing like pride was all he needed. Long after the final whistle, Willie Morgan kept walking forward, just like he always had. No farewell tour, no hunger for headlines, just a man still moving with purpose. He gave his fire to something else, charity, especially through the NSPCC, protecting children with the same quiet grit he once used to protect the wing. In 2023, he was awarded the MBE, not for football, but for service. He doesn't romanticize it, he just tells it straight. Too much coaching turns players into robots. You have to let kids play and express themselves. From Scotland to United, from Bolton to Blackpool, he gave everything and asked for nothing. Sir Matt Busby once said, "His name was Willie Morgan. I had been very impressed with the skill he displayed." At 81 years old, he still stands with the same posture he played with, calm, measured, and never needing noise. There's no statue, no grand museum exhibit. But there's something more lasting. The memory of a man who never let the wing collapse, no matter what fell around him. Some names were never meant to echo, they were meant to last. Willie Morgan never played for headlines. He played for the ones beside him. When others fell, he stayed wide, held shape, kept delivering. He followed George Best only in number, not in noise. And when the glory faded, he didn't flinch. He stood where he always stood, doing the job the way it should be done. His legacy isn't carved in stone, it's carried in memory, by fans, by teammates, by the game itself. A craftsman, a constant, a name spoken quietly, but always with respect, Willie Morgan. The wing never broke while he held it. Subscribe if you believe true greatness plays through the silence.